Taoist occult or mystical religious practice, Taoist magic, East Asian modalities of spiritualism that blend in ritual and either polytheistic or pantheistic worldviews, and what we might describe as witchcraft reflecting Taoist cosmological principles is a reservoir of magic open to all. But it is true that specific lineages of Taoist esoteric traditions are closed. They are so closed that you may even notice that I won't talk about closed living traditions unless I'm speaking in a very overbroad, generic way that's primarily rooted in history and what would already be accessible in scholarly texts. There's a reason for that. Closed traditions are typically initiatory lineages who have developed proprietary, secret, and specialized forms of Taoist magical craft. Think of it this way. There's a channel of power, such as that of healing magic associated with a divine medicine master, or a channel of thunder magic you draw from in Leifa, thunder rites. Sure, that channel of power is open to anyone who cultivates the ability to access it. A closed tradition would be a lineage that has established a very specific, proprietary, and secret way to work with that particular channel of power, and they safeguard it so that only those initiated into their tradition are permitted to work with that channel of power in their specific way. But working with the eight trigrams, traditional Chinese medicine, I Ching divination, feng shui, studying Leifa, pacing the Big Dipper, venerating the Lady of the Ninth Heaven, Kuan Yin or Maitreya, mantra recitations of Amitofo. If any of such practices call to you, they call to you, full stop. Whether you heed that call, learn and explore, that's really up to you. But that is not to claim a monolith or that there is an absolute unanimous opinion on anything. It's bad form, I think, to pit, say, my perspective against someone who is telling you something differently. People have their own reasons for believing what they believe. And part of Taoist ethos and morality is to honor that. Two oppositional, contradictory, disagreeing points of view can be true at the same time. In terms of my perspective, and one I believe many Taoists and Buddhists hold, is that Taoist magic, or this thing that we're currently conveniently referring to as Taoist magic, is energy work that exists in this world and has influence over your life, whether or not you are aware of it, whether or not you even acknowledge it. There is a source energy that produced all the things, and all the things are an offshoot of that source energy. We can tap into that source energy to connect with each other, with people, places, and things in ways that don't seem scientific. And spiritually, our highest purpose is to refine ourselves so that we can return to that source energy. I just happen to call it the Tao. Maybe you call it by a different name. Esoteric Taoism presents one set of vocabulary for describing universal cosmology. If it resonates with you, adopt that language. If it doesn't, that's fine. You will find the language that most resonates with you. And so these traditions, and I'm only speaking to esoteric Taoism and Buddhist mysticism, are open to anyone and everyone. As I've always been taught, it's like asking who is authorized to learn chemistry or biology, or whether algebra should be culturally exclusive to the Persians. Nothing I share is ever closed. Everything I share is always open, comes with an open invitation to anyone and everyone. You can integrate it in parts or in whole into your own path, no matter who you are or where you're coming from. You can cherry pick. I'm happy that you cherry pick. You can modify, you can tweak. But that does not hold true for every mystical religious practice from every part of the world. You need to ask questions on a case-by-case basis. I really want to clarify that an affirmation that Taoist ceremonial magic traditions are open does not in any way give permission to assume that all culture-specific magical traditions are open. the actual ideological principles characteristic of each culture specific tradition, its people's history, and most important of all, geopolitical relationships with your genetic and national heritage all determine tradition by tradition what's open to you and what might be closed to you. What I think might be instructive in a topical video such as this is to discuss why I would consider Taoist magical practices to be open. First, Taoist ethics and Buddhist ethos as well. We believe that what you do not claim ownership or possession of is what no one can ever take away from you. You'll find this principle in the first few verses of the Tao Te Ching. Also, per our own guiding principles, the Tao is the common ancestor of all of us. It is what unites the world into a whole. And therefore, no one can, by Taoist morality, be excluded from access to the Tao. Both Taoist and Buddhist esoteric theology, to be distinguished from exoteric religious doctrine for the masses, often tainted by politics and government interests, teaches that there are creative forces and there are destructive forces, but to refrain from calling anything good versus evil. Because the greater truth is what we are calling evil is just what isn't serving our self-interest today per our narrow perspective of our worldview and our limited life experiences. Our aspiration as Taoist occultists is to transcend separation and segregation of the world into good versus evil and to learn how to integrate, how to bring harmony between the two. And the very first step to that is to not see our own selves as good versus others as evil, but to see the seed of evil in ourselves so we can more authentically empathize with the other. And that seed of evil in ourselves, it's not evil. Like I said, it's our perception of evil. This relates back to concepts of open or closed traditions because closing off access to wisdom or self-empowerment, at least within the framework of Taoist ethics, is othering and contradictory to the higher purpose of integration, harmony, and union. This is just a sidebar commentary, but it's fascinating to me how in the Western world, so many principles in Buddhism and Taoism are described as spiritual bypassing. Like someone doesn't do the work to understand the depths of our esoteric wisdom, so offers up a hollow shell of the wisdom and then bitches about it. But that rant is for another time. You'll read in the Tao Te Ching that the pillars of magic or aspects of the Tao born from heaven and earth are not they're not sentimental, meaning they are not subjective, not discriminatory, not prejudicial, but rather there is an objective and non-discriminatory threshold. So it's not to say there are no gatekeepers. There are. We just conceptualize those gatekeepers as divine and objective. Whether you attain access is between you and the gods, or to put it in a different way, how dedicated, diligent, and how sincere your faith is to cultivating the Tao. How productive Taoist magical practices are for you really hinges on your own work. Did you do the work? Do you pass the trials and gauntlets? It's meant to refine your spiritual energy body so that you can have pure form access. And again, that's to be distinguished from certain lineages that practice Taoist magic in a closed and proprietary way. Some of that is premised on the belief that abilities are hereditary. Others say it's access that only can be granted between master and student, passed on energetically through qi from master to student. In some traditions, there are specific ceremonial rites and rituals to be performed, often a series of rituals, and only after that do you attain access. If you want to cherry pick or integrate parts of Taoist cosmology, like how this magical tradition conceptualizes yin and yang, yin yang, or the five alchemical phases, or the eight trigrams, or work with the eight immortals, or work closely with the Lady of the Ninth Heaven or Lady of the Nine Heavens. In a future video, we'll talk about that singular versus plural situation. All I can say to you is align your heart with that which is transcendental so that your heart can be in the right place. And then you do you. As a practicing Taoist, it would be against my morality to tell you what to do. With that said, I also have faith in the mysterious ways of the divine. Any of us will only get as far and as advanced with our craft as we're meant to get.